I used to believe resilience was silence, that strength meant bearing the weight of your mistakes without ever letting anyone see the cracks. But I've learned better. Silence doesn't heal. It hides. My name is Mara, and I've finally learned how to breathe again after a decade of forgetting how. Now it's just Ezra and me, and for once, the silence between us is a balm, not a wound. He's 20 now. 6 feet of late nights and ink-stained fingers, his sketchbooks trailing behind him like breadcrumbs from his thoughts. Sometimes I flinch when he laughs too loud, like I might wake from a dream where he's still mine. Here, with me. I lost him once. The court didn't use the word kidnapped. They said intervention. They said temporary guardianship. But when they handed him to my sister Lena and shut the door on my hospital room, it felt like they erased me. The days after were a blur of fluorescent lights and wool blankets that itched worse than withdrawal. I was 22. Sober. Scared. Still trying to believe the world was real again. Lena visited once. Maybe twice. She brought a crayon drawing Ezra had made in preschool. A family portrait with 4 people instead of 3. Who's that? I asked, slow from the meds. He said it's his real mom, Lena answered with a smile too sharp for comfort. I didn't cry, didn't scream, but something inside me folded in on itself. By the time I was released, Ezra was 6. And he didn't know me. We met again under the buzzing lights of a supervised visitation room. He clung to a Spider-Man backpack like a life vest. I asked if he liked his teacher. He shrugged. I offered a juice box. He shook his head. I'm your mom, I whispered finally. No, he said, barely audible. My mommy's at Lena. The social worker scribbled a note. That night, I punched a wall until my hands bled. But I didn't stop fighting. Every retail shift, every group therapy session, every birthday spent alone, I did it for him. Eventually, the courts saw the progress. Lena saw me as a threat. And Ezra. He started asking to see me more. By 10, he called me March. It wasn't mom, but it was something. A thread. I held it like it might pull us back together. When he was 15, the court gave him a voice in the matter. He chose to live with me. Lena tried every legal maneuver she could, but Ezra stood before the judge and said, I feel like a ghost there. He came home the next week. That first month felt like living with a stranger I loved. He never turned his back to me in a room. He never initiated a hug. He flinched if I raised my voice even when I wasn't angry. Then came the storm. The power went out. The wind howled. I found him in the hallway, wrapped in a blanket, eyes wide. I forgot how loud it gets, he said. I didn't speak. I just opened my arms. He walked into them without hesitation. His cheek against my collarbone, his breath warm on my neck. We stood like that for minutes. Hours. When he finally pulled away, there was no apology. There didn't need to be. The next morning, there were 2 mugs of black coffee waiting on the table, cinnamon dusted on top. You used to do that, he said. I still do, I replied. We became something else after that, not just mother and son, but something quieter, gentler. Undefined. One afternoon, I found a sketch of me on his desk. Hair tied back, face drawn in soft worry lines. The corner of my mouth mid-frown. You didn't have to draw me, I said. I wanted to, he said. I wanted to remember you as you are. Not how Lena said you were. He was close enough for his thigh to brush mine. The smell of graphite clung to him. I should have stepped back. I didn't. That night, I couldn't sleep. His words echoed, as you are. For the first time in years, I looked in the mirror and didn't look away. From the hallway, I saw his desk lamp still on. He was sketching. Always sketching. We never talked about the storm night. Not out loud. But something shifted after that. There was a new patience in how we moved around each other. A gentleness. Like we were both waiting for the other to flinch, but neither of us did. The quiet between us wasn't charged anymore. It just settled. I started cooking again, not out of need, but because I wanted to. Ezra teased me, said I was trying to win him over with carbs. I told him he'd already been won the day he was born. He didn't laugh. He just said, "You say things like that, and it makes everything make less sense." I didn't ask what he meant. He got a part-time job at a little art supply shop downtown. He came home smelling like graphite and canvas dust, sometimes with charcoal on his fingers. I didn't ask questions. Just handed him a warm towel and let him be. Then came the gallery. It was small, a co-op that let young artists share wall space with seasoned dreamers. Ezra submitted 2 pieces. Both were accepted. The light in his eyes when he told me reminded me of the boy who used to build cities out of cereal boxes. "Come with me," he said the night before the showing. "To the gallery?" He nodded, but his voice held hesitation, like he wasn't sure I'd say yes. Of course, I told him. I wouldn't miss it. The next evening, I wore a black dress I hadn't touched since the custody hearing. It still fit. Just. Ezra came into the hallway adjusting the cuffs of his shirt and paused when he saw me. "You look," he faltered. "Nice. Nice," I teased. He cleared his throat. "I meant beautiful." I smiled. "Thank you." We drove in near silence, music low, glances unspoken. At the gallery, he came alive. He shook hands, accepted compliments with that crooked grin, and pointed me out to someone as his muse. A joke, maybe? But later, when the crowd thinned, he led me to a quiet corner. "There's one I didn't hang," he said, pulling out his phone. He showed me a drawing. Of me. Not stylized, just real. Shoulders bare, hair loose, neckline slipping off one side. I looked tired. Strong. Half-finished and utterly human. "Ezra," I whispered. "I didn't mean to draw it like that," he said quickly. "It just happened. Like my hand knew something before I did." I looked at him. "And what did it know?" He didn't answer right away. "That maybe I see you differently than I should." My pulse roared in my ears. "I'm your mother," I said. Not cold. Not correcting. Just reminding. "I know," he said. "But sometimes I forget where the lines are. Because you're the only person who's ever made me feel safe." His words hung heavy in the air, not menacing, just weighty. As we walked into the winter night, he brushed his fingers against mine. Not a hold, just a question. I didn't pull away. At home, he disappeared into his room. I stood in the kitchen, rereading the program from the gallery. On the back, in pencil, he'd written, "If I don't belong anywhere else, I belong here. With you." I folded it gently, placed it in the drawer next to the cinnamon, and turned off the lights. We stayed in that weekend. The snow fell slow and soft. Ezra drifted through the house in mismatched socks and oversized hoodies, sketchbook always within reach. "You cold?" I asked, handing him tea. He shook his head. Still, I pulled the couch blanket over his shoulders. He looked at me like I'd spoken in a language only we knew. "You always know," he said. "Know what?" "When I need something. Before I even do." I brushed his hair off his brow. "That's love, Ezra. It's knowing even in the quiet." His gaze fell. "Even when the quiet's dangerous?" My breath caught. "Is it?" He didn't answer. Later, I found a new sketch, unfinished. 2 figures, close but not touching. One hand reaching, the other suspended. They weren't labeled. But I knew. Something inside me, a part I'd sealed off, shifted. Not cracked. Not collapsed. Just opened. The days that followed weren't quiet in the way silence sometimes threatens. They were just soft. Unfolding. Ezra was home more than usual. He hovered near the kitchen when I cooked. Lingered in doorways. Sketched while I folded laundry, then left those sketches half-finished in plain sight. He was searching for something. Or waiting for something. I wasn't sure which. One night, after grilled cheese and tomato soup eaten on the floor like we used to, he asked, "Do you ever wish it had gone differently?" I hesitated. "All of it." He nodded. The beginning. The middle. The years we didn't have. Yes, I said. But I don't think I'd be who I am if it had. He didn't respond for a while. Then, I wish I'd known you before everything. When you were softer. You didn't know me, I said. I knew the version they warned me about. There wasn't much to say to that. So I reached out, brushed his hair back. He closed his eyes for a second, like it was a gesture he didn't expect but had needed all the same. The next day, a letter arrived. Lena. Her cursive filled a pale pink envelope. I didn't open it immediately. Left it on the counter like a dare to myself. When I returned from watering the frostbitten rosemary out back, Ezra was holding it. She wrote again, he asked, voice flat. I nodded. First time in a while. He looked like he wanted to tear it in half. She said she'd never forgive you. I blinked. Did you open it? He didn't deny it. Didn't have to. She lost things too, Ezra. She made sure you lost more. I didn't argue. There wasn't a point. That night, I opened the letter in bed. Lena wrote with restraint. She mentioned her daughter's graduation, asked how we were, and then ended with, just a reminder. Don't slip backward. It wasn't cruel, but it felt like a leash. I folded it up and placed it in a drawer I never opened. Later, I heard Ezra's door open, then shut. Footsteps near my room. A pause. Neither of us slept. In the morning, a new drawing was taped to the fridge. A landscape. A wind-blown tree with one broken branch. Still rooted. No message. Just a simple E in the corner. That afternoon, I was painting again for the first time in months. Blue tones. Unformed images. Something like sky. Ezra stepped into the room, watching from the doorway. I like when you paint, he said. I forgot I still could. Why? I thought I'd used up all the color inside me. He came closer. You haven't. His voice was near my shoulder. I could feel his presence like a current in the room. My pulse stuttered. You know, I said, still brushing paint onto canvas. There's a version of this that isn't safe. I know. And, still, I'm not asking for anything, he whispered. I just don't want to pretend I don't see you. I turned to him. And, how do you see me? He didn't flinch. Like you're more than the story they told about you. We stood there, me with paint on my fingers, him with graphite smudged under his nails, caught in something neither of us could name. I reached out and touched the tip of his nose with my brush. You look like sky now. He blinked. Then smiled. Then I'll stay where the light is. I don't remember who leaned closer. Maybe neither of us did. Maybe the moment leaned for us. Our foreheads touched. No one spoke. He exhaled. This doesn't feel the way I thought it would. How it would feel. Wanting something you're not supposed to name. I stepped back. Ezra. I know, he said. I'm not going to ruin what we have. That's not what scares me, I said. I'm scared of what it says about me that I haven't walked away. He was quiet. Then, maybe it just says you're human. And that's when everything truly changed. Not the sketch. Not the gallery. This. The stillness that didn't crack. The silence that didn't judge. The truth that stayed in the room. Ezra left for college in the fall. Not far, just over an hour. But it felt like another world. We packed up notebooks, too many socks, a battered French press, and one of my paintings tucked between his duffel bags. Put it on the wall, I told him. He looked at the seascape, quiet and strange, with no horizon line. Already planned, he said. I didn't cry at the curb, just squeezed his arm. He waved as he drove off, a little grin on his face. The house changed after that. The quiet didn't ache. It waited. I started painting again. I patched the roof. I enrolled in a figure drawing class at the community center. I wasn't good, but it didn't matter. It reminded me of Ezra. He called weekly. Sometimes more. We talked about professors, weird roommates, deadlines. But sometimes there was silence. The kind that wrapped around words left unspoken. One night, he asked, "Do you think about the things we never talked about?" I didn't ask which things. Yes, I said. Do you regret not naming it? No, I said. Because naming it would have broken what we have. And what we have is rare. He was quiet then. Yeah. A pause. I miss the quiet with you. I do too. That winter, he came home. He looked older. Sharper. Like time had cut away some of the softness, but left the soul intact. When he saw me in the doorway, he dropped his bag and wrapped his arms around me so tightly I forgot how to breathe. That night, we sat on the couch sipping peppermint tea. Wind rattled the windows. Ezra showed me sketches. I showed him my latest painting, charcoal, smeared and raw. You're not hiding anymore, he said, running a finger along the canvas. I'm not sure I remember how. You don't have to, he said. You're more you now than ever. I looked at him and saw it again. The same look from the gallery, from the storm night. But he didn't touch me, didn't reach. Just said, it's still there, you know. I know. And it doesn't go away. No, I said. But it changes. That spring, Ezra started dating a girl named Ren, a bassist in a student band with chipped nail polish and 2 big jackets. He brought her home once. She laughed like she was always mid-story. I liked her. I truly did. After she left, we sat in the quiet. You okay? He asked. I nodded. She's good for you. She's not you, he said. Simple. Honest. And I didn't answer, because what answer would make that less true? Time slipped by. Ezra got a studio apartment, tall windows, no dishwasher. He called less, but longer. When he sent his work, it was always portraits. Sometimes I recognized them. Sometimes I didn't. Then, one day, a sketch came without a message. A woman, alone in a room of shadow and light. Her face turned slightly, as if listening to something the room couldn't hear. Her mouth half open, about to speak, or remembering how. I framed it, hung it above my desk, next to an old photo of Ezra at age 8, arms around a rescued mutt we fostered for one summer. When people asked about the sketch, I'd say, my son drew it. And leave it at that. Because some stories don't end. They just echo. Some loves don't ask for names. They just exist. Ezra doesn't come home often now. But the last time, he stood in the entryway, looking around like the house was a memory he was checking for cracks. Still smells like paint and cinnamon, he said. You're the one who started the cinnamon. He smiled. I remember. Before he left, he kissed my cheek, soft. Reverent. Love you, March. Love you too, I whispered. And when the door shut behind him, I sat in the quiet he left. Not broken. Not waiting. Just breathing. Because some bonds aren't meant to be explained. Only remembered.